We are now on to a combination of topics. We are going to look at cloud, business productivity, and BI. Speaking on these three topics, first up is business productivity is Rajat Chaudhary, Vishal Shirodkar, and Manoj Nair from Microsoft. I'm going to introduce all the three speakers together to save time. Rajat Chaudhary manages the business productivity solutions business in Microsoft, working with enterprise customers to provide business collaboration and messaging solutions using products like Office, Exchange, SharePoint, Lync, etc. Vishal is a technology specialist in the data center and private cloud business of Microsoft. He'll obviously talk about private cloud. His current role involves articulating the values of the Windows platform and ensuring that private cloud adoption and optimization is an investment in the technology is realized to the fullest. Manoj Nair is a platform solution specialist at Microsoft. He works in the area of database workloads like MIS, data warehousing, BI, and integration. So start with Rajat Chaudhary.
Thanks for the nice introduction there. Hi all, welcome to TPL. I'm excited to be here along with you to help you make solutions around business productivity and how Microsoft can help you in this journey to make your trip successful to Las Vegas. So I'll be along with a lucky team, not going, but wishing you all the best for your Las Vegas case study. Okay, so business productivity from Microsoft is a day-to-day thing which you use every day in your organizations. You know, you've been using Office, you've been using many of other communication tools and products, right? So what we are going to talk about how you can be, and I will be primarily talking in parlance to the case studies which you will be working on later, and what you can take from here, in terms of reducing costs, in terms of collaborating, in terms of some of the new innovation which you could do. Since we have limited time, I'll quickly go through the slides, but we have enough of time for other sessions, later half of the day. So let me quickly start from a communications perspective, right? And if you see, there are communication silos which exist in every company, and this slide looks very familiar to you, where you are all seeing these communication modes existing in your organization in some form or shape. While email has been existence for over 2 decades, right? But there has been a new area of communications which have come up. We call it instant message, you call it VCs, video conferences, you call it audio conferences, bridges, and in a constant pressure of time, we are trying to merge various areas, and we are actually creating silos of information. We have PBX, we have our email software, and all of these have a separate experience, user experience. They have a separate experience around the managing IT infrastructure of each of them. You have separate team managing it, right? So the pressure on IT team builds up, saying that how can we actually converge this communication? How can actually we reduce cost of IT or of managing these communications? How can we actually reduce these communications silos, which we have? Can I actually give a single client to people, to manage these communications? And it's all about, having one single experience to users, and Microsoft simply talks about, productivity in terms of user experience, which is paramount importance in your day-to-day software, whether you're using Outlook or any Office software. All the communication should be as part of the same, and also giving them in a form of various areas, whether you want to manage these solutions on-premise, you want to manage these solutions via partner through a hosted solution, or host it with Microsoft to let Microsoft manage these solutions for you and reduce costs on that perspective. So quickly going on to some of the areas which you would like to look at or innovate on is around reduce costs, right? How actually you can reduce costs on the current communication expenses you have. Now, reduce costs can come in terms of either saving bandwidth, either saving per user cost, Or it could be either moving from on-premise model to a hosted model in terms of a subscription-based model. Now, reduced cost can also come in terms of increasing productivity, because it's like, as soon as you increase efficiency, you save more time for people to do the same work which you are doing day in and day out, and help you reduce costs. Adaptability, is a easy differentiator, and you all, especially in IT, having spent 14 years in IT, adoption has been a big challenge of IT teams, where you would see if you actually give a new technology to a user, there is always a pushback. How creatively you can give that technology to users so that they can adopt it efficiently. The technology should be embedded into their day-to-day tool, rather than giving them another tool for manage to do host of training sessions for them, and end of the day then hearing responses that IT did not do a good job, because the adoption did not happen even though the technology was good. And the third part is around the extendability of the technology. So if I am actually putting up a technology in my premise, is the technology integrating seamless with my existing devices, existing communication channels, or existing softwares? Again, an important part, so that we are not creating siloed of information. Mobility, I was recently reading a Gartner report where they are saying CIOs, some of the top agendas on their mind going forward is, one of them is mobility, other than cloud and BI, right? And when it comes to mobility, you want to extend these applications to various devices, and when you are talking especially about consumerization of devices, you will know a lot of iPads coming into your organizations, right? You do not have control. The executives come and bring the devices and says, please configure this, I want to access my communications on this. You have a lot of Android devices. How do you manage those devices? What do you do about security? What do you do about data privacy? Right? Those devices, if go out of the organizations, can be in the wrong hands, and data security can be at stake, right? So it's important to extend these softwares to those devices for them, and ensure that they are secure, they are under parlance of privacy, so that even if the device gets lost, the data is not lost. Now, some of the areas which we talk about in detail during solutions session is how some of the areas you can reduce costs. How, if you can reduce travel, right? Can you use audio video conferencing within your on-premise rather than hosting it somewhere outside? Can you actually reduce the conferencing charges, hosted by a third-party provider, right? Can you actually work on reducing the cost of IT on managing those infrastructure, on replacing those hardwares year on year? Now, these are some of the artifacts, some of the organizations which we have seen have saved costs. There are a lot of Indian customers also which have case studies of actually reducing cost over 10 crore a year, right, by implementing these kind of solutions. Right? From the adoption perspective, and when we were talking about how it can seamlessly work in your Office application, I'm sure at least 90% of the audience here must be using Microsoft Office, right? If not Outlook, right? How I can actually seamlessly create that communication channel within my Word application, within my Excel application? How easily can that user share that applications across different devices? So even if you are on a move sitting here and you are actually collaboratively working on a document, let's say creating RFP for your organization with someone sitting in your office, can you actually work together on the same document, collaborate while sitting here? Yes, this is possible, right? And this is what we are talking about, because you are using it from your day-to-day software. Just an example of how easily you can actually embed information, because when you're trying to reach someone, it becomes important to know their location, their availability, and this was one of the important things that we thought while developing the software. How many times does it happen that we are trying to reach someone and we get jittery that the person is not picking up call, it goes to a voicemail, we send an SMS. Why are we doing all this? Because we do not know the availability of a person, right? So the important thing would be, before calling a person, I would rather want to know what is he doing, where is he out of office, is he not available, or is he offline, has he gone on leave, right? Before taking informed decisions about sending in an email or sending him a voicemail or calling him. And bringing adoption around conferencing, right? We have been doing a lot of calling to each other, right? Mobile, as my colleagues said earlier, like mobile becomes so prevalent today, right? Where we are calling each other, we cannot live by mobile. I was reading on Facebook saying that a group of friends are trying to decide, if you cannot live without mobile for 1 hour, right? That person should pay a bill. What it means is, we cannot even live without our mobile. If you actually were to try this yourself, right? If you try to live without mobile for even 1 hour, you can't do that. Idea is bringing conferencing onto your desktop, right? Bringing conferences onto your work environment, into your office or Outlook client, is a key here. The last part being, how easy can you do a deployment of all this, right? You currently have your own EPBX system, right? Those EPBX systems are lying there. You may have deployed VoIP softwares, VoIP phones. Do you know there is a power consumptions by all those VoIP devices sitting in your office? Can you actually reduce those costs? Can we switch off those devices? If you say no, the computer we actually take home, but those devices are sitting here, consuming around 8 megawatt of power, right, from the switch. Can we reduce those costs? Can we actually use software-based VoIP systems, maybe software on our laptop, so that we can also reduce power costs, right? How easy can I extend this new communication mode with my current software devices or current hardware devices which we have? So with that, I just want to give you a vision on productivity is not around just unified communications which you talk about, but it's all about how you are extending it to different devices, right, across 3 screens, how you can have it delivered on your platform or on your hosted partner or with Microsoft, right? And it includes other stuff as business intelligence, collaboration, which my colleague will talk about. Yeah, Vishal.
Thank you, Rajat. Good afternoon, everyone. I have exactly 6 minutes to talk about virtualization and private cloud before I hand it over to my colleague, so I'll move pretty fast. What I'm going to focus primarily is on the virtualization and the management stack that Microsoft has. So primarily, in the current context, we're looking at the distribution models in terms of how servers are, or physical servers are there in data centers. And this is how it's traditionally been. You have a combination of traditional and virtualized data centers. And this is what's going to look like in the future, where a large amount of servers that organizations are having or hosting will either be converted into private cloud, and certain applications are going to be, again, transitioned to the public cloud. So this is the kind of model that you need to prepare your organizations for. So what are the stacks that we have as when we talk about the public and private cloud from a Microsoft perspective? It's pretty simple. I'm sure you're familiar with most of the products over here. When you talk about the public cloud, you have our software as a service model, which is Office 365. We have the CRM Online, which is Dynamic CRM Online. We have Windows Intune. I don't know how many have heard of Windows Intune, but that's a software as a service model where we can actually manage our desktops remotely via hosted primarily with the Microsoft data centers. And of course, you have Windows Azure, which is a platform as a service model. On the private aspect of it, we have Office, we have Windows Server, which is obviously the most common operating system you're familiar with. System Center, which is an amalgamation of around 7 key products, which allow you to provision VMs, manage the storage, control your applications. On the ERP side, we have Dynamics, and of course, we have SQL Server on the database. Now, what is interesting over here is, in terms of what is the common stack across the private and the public cloud. The common technologies are obviously identity. If you're familiar with Active Directory, that's our directory service. That's the identity stack that glues both of them together. Virtualization primarily with Hyper-V, and right now with Windows Server 2012, we've actually scaled up to a very large extent. Management, which is System Center, and of course development, which is Visual Studio, which is the common application platform. So when we talk about virtualization, when we move to, when you talk about a paradigm shift to private clouds, we talk about 2 different personas. You have your service consumer, which is your application owner, and on the other hand, you have your data center administrator or the central IT team. And there are certain key requirements that every individual persona has. And the objective of our technology stack is to bridge or service these requirements as far as the service consumer is concerned, as well as the service provider is concerned. So the opportunity that you have as far as creating a strategy for the case studies that you have is when you're deploying a service. Now we are talking about a central IT team deploying IT as a service. You have the option of developing or deploying the service either internally in their own private cloud, either hosting it onto a service provider, or deploy it onto a platform as a service, which is our Windows Azure model. And when you deploy IT as a service, what are the capabilities that you look for when you do a service deployment? The key thing is, you must have heard about something called Fabric. So right now, Fabric has become a buzzword, like cloud was around a couple of months back. So right now, Fabric is nothing but an aggregation of the compute that you would have, which is basically all the servers that are there in your data centers, all the storage that you would have, which is your combination of NAS and sandboxes, and of course the networks, whether you want specific VMs to be created on a particular VLAN or any other VLAN segment. Then, of course, you have what kind of applications you want to develop, whether it's a web-based application, whether it's a client-server application, or whether it's a application which takes care of your backend SQL data. And when you deploy that particular service, there are 3 layers. The private cloud solution stack from Microsoft allows you to deploy or develop applications across these 3 layers. Once you deploy a particular service, you'll obviously come across the common questions that generally get asked in terms of provisioning resources. How do I provision resources? How do I test it in development? How do I assign an IP to it? How do I create a service template? How do I create an application template? How do I ensure that the backend SQL is scaled enough? All these things are addressed by the common stack of Windows Server and System Center. Last but not the least is obviously insight and resolution. Just deploying a service onto a set of servers is not what you're looking for. You also want insight and resolution in terms of, is my application functioning? If the number of users increases by a factor of 2, will my application scale up? What kind of capabilities do I have if my application needs to scale up? So the insight and resolution again is part of the System Center stack. So in this case, for example, if the number of users increases exponentially over a particular period of time, let's say an e-commerce kind of an application, I need to have an automatic method where I can actually provision more VMs to it without any human intervention. So that's the kind of automation customers are looking at. Similarly, if a particular service goes down, what are the capabilities that I have to address these kind of downtimes without the end user knowing about it, or a very minimal amount of downtime? So if a service goes down, I need to pinpoint which particular app on the middle layer is it affecting, is there a dependency on the backend network layer, and how do I actually resolve it? Then the last part is obviously resource management. So when you talk about resource management, and especially with the first phase of virtualization, which is server consolidation, the common questions that are generally asked is, how do I provision my server? How do I convert my physical servers to virtual servers? How do I patch my servers? How do I install specific agents on my servers? So there are tons of questions that get asked by the IT team. And the aggregation of all these issues that central IT teams generally face can be addressed using System Center. And of course, which resides on top of Windows Server 2008. So the resource management part, again, is handled by System Center. So your combination of public cloud or private cloud and the associated capabilities that are required is all handled by this particular snapshot, which actually tells you require a self-service portal for servicing those requests. You require a service model which will allow you to do delivery and automation, which is basically combining the requests that the users are asking for and delivering it in a mechanism that they are familiar with. And of course, the last part is, how do I configure and deploy those services? And when I deploy and configure the services, either on a physical machine or a virtual instance or on the public cloud, how do I manage it? So the management and the monitoring and operating part, again, is handled by the set of products that are showcased over here. So there are 7 products which are part of System Center 2012, and you'll be using a combination of these products to develop your solution. So it's broken down to 3 different pillars. You have application management, service delivery and automation, and of course the infrastructure management part of it. So in a nutshell, this is the System Center 2012 stack. In the interest of time, I will of course give you more insight into this when you come to our kiosk over there. But these are the top 10 capabilities of System Center 2012, which includes a combination of private and public cloud management as well as cross hypervisor management. The best part is the extension that's been provided. We have a large number of partners. So if you have an existing investment in any of these vendor solutions, whether from the storage stack or from the hardware stack, the Microsoft System Center stack, along with the private cloud, helps you extend that your investments. So last but not the least, you seize the opportunity to be cloud innovators. The URL at the bottom is basically a starting point, cloudassessmenttool.com, to figure out whether your organization is ready for moving into cloud and what are the pros and cons they need to look into. With that, I'll hand it over to Manoj. Thank you.
Thanks, Prashant. Hi all. How have you been? This has gone very silent. I was sitting right at the back, and this tons of information were being bombarded on me, at least in the corner. I don't know about you. You'll probably need a database to handle at least a gigabyte of information that has been thrown at you since morning. Right or wrong? And I'm the only person now standing between you and lunch, which I somehow happen to be in most of the speaker sessions. So I'll not take much time. Let me just move ahead. So what I'm going to cover is a bit of mixture of all those people who spoke about it today morning. So I'm going to cover that topic of database where you'll need to store information, and what else can you do about it. So we have things like analysis. All three of your case studies which you have today speaks about analysis at some point of time or the other. How do you arrive at that? We have got a solution for that, and that is what is parcel of our database itself. Second is self-service BI. All the three case studies again talk about situations wherein people will need to have BI on the move. We spoke about mobility solutions earlier in the day. So how will you provide analysis to people who are on the move continuously? That is again provided as part and parcel of the solution. Third was most important. We spoke about huge tons and gigabytes and petabytes of data in one of the big data sessions. But is this data relevant to your business? Also, from among this entire set of relevant data, what is it that you can really trust upon in terms of quality to take the right business decision? So we'll also need to look at a solution which also has data quality services built in as part of that solution. That again is part and parcel of the solution that is provided by Microsoft today. And again, you heard about Wipro speaking on big data. We work parallelly with that particular solution stack which Wipro presented in terms of Hadoop and the big data analysis that Microsoft provides. I'll cover briefly what exactly happens at the backend layer. Now, purely when it comes to BI, this is what you need to do. And this is what you need to keep in mind with respect to the three case studies. You need to build something that can be leveraged by multiple types of inputs, whether it is your standard desktop that you're working on, whether it is a laptop or a tablet that you carry around, or be any mobile device. It could be an Android device, an iPad, or a BlackBerry. The information that has been collected by your IT team has to be made available to each and every kind of user and each and every kind of device in your organization. At the same time, the architecture has to be such that it should support data sources of any kind, whether it is traditional structured data residing in databases, flat files, Excel files, or also unstructured data going forward. Not only that, it could also support cloud-based services, which Vishal spoke about. So Microsoft offers a public cloud platform called as SQL Azure and Windows Azure. That could also host some of the data which you could be needing for analysis. In short, this is the solution stack from Microsoft for a BI solution that you may probably need with reference to the case study. At the bottom is the database. The database will give you features like basic data integration, data quality services, reporting services, and also multidimensional capability, which will further be enhanced by using the SharePoint part, which is going to be used for dashboards, scorecards, and stuff like that. You could have a situation where there is a requirement for creating a workflow or collaborating with each other across the organization, which are spread geographically. Again, SharePoint forms a part of that solution. And last but not the least, the most favorite BI tool, whether you like it or not, happens to be Excel. So Microsoft offers a similar capability in Excel itself, as well as on the standard web-based reporting tools like SharePoint and SQL. So this in itself is the main stack or the main set of slides that you need to remember when you are working on that case study. Which component may fit in where? With SQL 2012 release, we have got multiple capabilities built in. So in case of situations where we are actually talking about big data or huge amounts of data that needs to be analyzed right at the desktop level, we have got technologies called as Power Pivot right in Excel 2010, which helps you do this kind of analysis. Power Pivot is over Excel is not limited by any number of rows that Excel has. It is only limited by the memory that is available on your desktop for computing. Moving ahead, we have also got a solution called as Power View, which is again an in-memory based BI tool, which is now part of SQL Server 2012. So this is again, the limitation is not in terms of the amount of data that you have. The technology has been improved in SQL 2012 to handle all kind of big data analysis as well. This same technology can also work right with SQL Server, offer you a seamless, secure connection right into Hadoop, where you can take care of all your big data analysis and publish the results back onto your presentation layer that you choose. So that is it from my side. I didn't take much of your time. I don't want to stand between you and lunch. All the best for your case studies, and hope one of you have a rocking time in Las Vegas. And just remember 2 points. It is not just about winning here. It is also important that you win in Las Vegas as well. Thank you.